Hello, everyone. Welcome to Everything Iconic with me, Danny Pellegrino. I'm here with the queen, an icon, and a legend, the Drew Barrymore. Drew, how are you?
Oh, Danny. I mean, you just literally gave me the most thoughtful gift ever. Danny gave me a journal that has the infamous Jack Berger Post-it note on it that says, "I'm sorry, I can't, don't hate me," that he left on Carrie Bradshaw's computer in Sex and the City. And it's just been this big thing in my life. I've been talking to my therapist, Barry, about it. I've been writing essays about it. I've been thinking about the behavior around a Post-it note like this and how we used to vilify it. And now it actually seems like a Torah scroll, a tome, an encyclopedia of words compared to the day and age of ghosting.
Right.
And this is so meaningful to me. Thank you.
Of course. And don't you think there's something, I mean, that wasn't really a written letter, but there is something to, like, the written letter. I think that's so beautiful.
Well, George Clooney came on our show.
How hot is he? I mean, I saw that clip of him on your show. I mean, he's, like, gorgeous.
No, he just is looking virile, handsome, lively.
Ever.
Yeah, lively. Like, he just ages like a fine wine. And I love that he, like, has a cocktail and enjoys his life and, you know, is living and loving and advocating
Live, laugh, lovin'.
working and eating. And, like, what I don't really respond to is those people who are like, I drink 100 ounces of water a day and I don't eat anything outside of, you know, a very restricted, thoughtful diet. And I exercise for 2 hours every day. I'm like, oh my God, I could never keep up with that.
Wait, so we're talking about Sex and the City, though, before. And do you have, like, a favorite episode? Who do you relate to the most? Because I know you're a big fan. And what did you think of the reboot? Did you like the reboot?
Well,
don't lie to me.
It's okay. It took me a second. Yeah. I was like, wait, what is happening? And the what is happening was not the introduction of the new characters. I think that actually hooked me in quicker because I didn't have premeditated expectations on the new characters, and I thought they cast it brilliantly. Like, all the women actually came on this show, and I was already super fans of them on the show. So I felt like it was almost two shows within one show. I think what was surprising to me was that the characters I thought I knew were behaving so differently. Mm-hmm. So Miranda was different than Miranda was not messy before. Right. Miranda was, you know, it's like the Golden Girls and Sex and the City sort of took one woman and divided her up into 4 pie pieces. And it was like our sexual side, our, you know, romantic side, our business side, and our, you know, kind of love junkie side, and creative side. Yeah. It was like every facet of a woman. So all the years I watched Sex and the City, because I still will watch old episodes. Like, I'm like, I could be learning something new. Nope, I'm going to watch that same episode for the 34th time. And here we go.
Every year on my birthday, not to interrupt you, but I watch the agony and the ecstasy when they're sitting around at the diner at the end. They don't go to Il Cantonori or they go to the wrong restaurant. And they're like, we should be each other's soulmates. And that's, like, my favorite thing ever. I have to watch it on my birthday.
And they find her in the shower. Yeah. And just the mascara all down her face.
Good.
Yeah. I throughout the last several decades that I've been watching the show, I am different characters at different points in my life. Again, because I think it's a Venn diagram intersected of one woman. So it's just, at certain points I've been a Carrie, at certain points I've been a Charlotte, at certain points I've been a Miranda, and back in the day I used to be a Samantha.
I need a little, like, I know they're hinting, I like the way that they hint at Samantha, and the text messaging and all of that kind of stuff. But it's just like, I want them to just give her like $10 million or whatever it is, like, to just show up for one scene. Like, and I know there was trouble.
It's heartbreaking when you are convinced of this show that's built upon the idea of friendship. Yeah. However, I think what I finally had to adjust to and just like that was the fact that things change, people develop boundaries and truths where they're like, I can't keep going on like this. And it just felt like some harsh reality in a show that we always felt like we could lose ourselves into. Not in a fantasy way, per se, but in a, like, relatable way.
Right.
So I guess it's not what we all wanted. We'd all like them to be happily ever after. Soulmates, as you said, for life. We don't need other people. We can just have each other and be fulfilled. It's like we're the ones not willing to let that go. They've moved on, and we have to accept that.
Right.
But that was hard to do
Yeah.
for a while in the show. And then, also I think, there was... I really did like the new characters. I thought it feels like two shows trying to be the same show, and I was really on board with the new people.
And they weaved him in by the end. And I want more. I just thought it was a little messy.
I thought, I guess change is messy, hard, and scary.
And it was hard.
And we
But
were also right coming out of the pandemic.
Yeah.
We were all so cagey, and we wanted that safe harbor of Sex in the City, and they were serving it up different, and it was a tough time to do that.
It got us talking, though.
Yeah,
it got everyone talking.
That first episode?
Oh my god!
Oh my God!
Che Diaz Miranda when Carrie was recovering from the surgery. It was so good. But wait, I want to go to something you said about the Venn diagram of women, and I'm interested in this because we just rewatched The Wedding Singer, which that's my favorite of Urian Adams movies. Right? Love it.
Thanks.
But I was watching it, and the Christine Taylor role was interesting to me because I was doing all my research, and I was reading about how when you came on board, they expanded your role in the female character. Because before then, an Adam Sandler movie was an Adam Sandler movie where there was a female love interest, but there wasn't really it wasn't a beefy role, right? And I was watching the Christine Taylor role, and in the 90s and the 2000s, normally that role would be a villain when she likes the Adam Sandler character, and then when she finds out her friend has a real connection with the Adam Sandler character, normally I feel like she would have fought it. And then I was thinking of all these movies you did, Ever After, for instance, where it's a Cinderella story, and it's not someone saving the woman. She's able to save herself, but there's still a love element. And I feel like that's been so apparent throughout so many of your movies, where these strong, well-rounded female characters down the list of all your movies. And I'm curious, like, when did you hook into that idea? Or what role was it where you're like, no, we have to beef up this female character. It has to be well-rounded. I don't want to pit women against each other. Like, does that make sense?
You're so absolutely astutely spot on.
That's true.
It really is, and it's not a question that I get asked very often in that way, the way you're phrasing it. It means so much to me that you're recognizing that, because it has been such a part of the gas in my tank or the way that my motor runs. I just thought there's a formula here in storytelling in Hollywood and filmmaking and it didn't used to be that way. Old rom-coms and old-fashioned movies really felt like two-handers. And that was a big pitch to Sandler, is I was like, I want to be like Hepburn and Tracy. Now, we'll probably look more like, Buddy Hackett and, Doris Day, although Doris Day is a stunner, but
You're
like,
both so hot in Wedding Singer.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I didn't ever. For me, the reason I believed so much in Adam, for my selfish intuition, was that I thought he embodied everything that women, either in the movies or in reality at the end of the day, want, which is a good, nice, funny, sensitive, cool, caring guy who has enough of an edge to keep you on the hook. I hate that nice guys finish last.
Right.
They shouldn't. They should finish first. And the sooner we figure that out as women, if you're into men, or, nice girls finish last, nice whatever partners finish last, you're going to live a better life. And it's not that I even knew that for myself yet at that point. I was in my early 20s and a total idiot, but I knew that the message in films and storytelling should be like, go for the good guy. And to me, a good guy is someone who's funny and consistent and sweet and charming, but again, has something about them that's a little edgy, because too soft and too nice is a hard sell for people. And Sandler, being a comedian, comedians always have edge.
Yeah.
They just do. You
Yeah.
can't be a comedian and have no edge. There's no soft, sweet, charming, spineless comedians out there. You're not a comedian if that's the thing.
Right.
You just might have a good sense of humor and you're kind, but you're not a comedian. Comedians have bite. They have teeth. They got backbone. They got balls. They got chutzpah and moxie. They've got the goods.
Yeah.
Funny is intelligent and it's alluring. And women, at least I was, also attracted to talent. And to me, Sandler was so talented. The funny thing was,
What's the next one?
Sandler and I never dated.
Yeah,
like
but you had the-
but I just was like, this is the guy all girls want.
Yeah.
You know? And so I kept saying to him, like, you know, it's a really unfortunate thing that the women in comedic films or rom-coms are not usually the ones driving it, but even worse, they're not even 50%.
Right.
And that's not what I'm out to do here. I want to do a two-hander, 50%. We're playing tennis, volleying the ball back and forth, and that's the only way this is going to work. And he was on board with that, and he got Judd Apatow and Carrie Fisher, and took the script that him and Tim Hurley and Adam had wrote, and Frank Karachi, the director, had a big hand in it, and they made it a twofer.
Yeah.
And they made it a strong movie for both characters. And you're right. I thought, you know, Glenn Guglia was enough of an archetypal jerk that you don't need then her best friend being the archetypal jerk. Why do we have to set up people to look bad to make other people look good?
And it's such a subtle shift that I was watching and I was like, oh my God, this feels almost revolutionary for this time period, especially because I forget, it's the moment where Christine Taylor's character goes to Adam's house. And it's like I hadn't seen the movie in maybe a decade or something. And I was like, oh my God, like my body was ready for her to throw your character under the bus. And I was like, this is fucking blown my mind. It was amazing.
Well, I also, like, her character in the movie wouldn't have assumed, like, everyone thinks she's off and getting married. So when someone's made that big decree and plan, you kind of move on in your brain like that's a done deal.
Right.
Where obviously it is very much not a done deal.
What's going on with the next Adam Sandler movie? You're going to do another one together because it has to be every 10 years or something, right?
It does.
Yeah.
It has been every 10 years. It's funny. I just got a call the other day about, like, someone somewhere saying, you know, hey, it wasn't Sandler or me. It was someone else in a position to make it happen. And the verbiage through someone I've worked with for 20-something years was like, or 30 years, was like, the 10-year mark is coming around again, and we're noticing that. And like,
We
just
need that.
just want to let your client know, like, we know we're coming up on the decade.
Okay, because Drew,
Which made me so happy because I'm like, oh my God, when it comes from a neutral party, especially a business neutral party, it makes you feel like you're not doing something that's indulgent or that you've lost touch
we
and
all
you don't
want
know
it.
what.
We want it.
I don't know
No, we
that,
need
and
it.
that's so nice.
We need it.
I have no objectivity. I need to hear other people's perspective on it.
The Drew Barrymore show, which I think is I think creatively you guys are doing so amazing. And I know
Thank
ratings
you.
are up like 60%. The show is doing so amazing.
Oh my God, it's taken 3 years to get here.
But the interviews every interview you've been doing has been phenomenal.
Thank you.
But I need you also to be acting and directing. Like, and I know you're busy, and this is a whole fucking show. You got a lot of work to do. But me as an audience member, I'm like, I need you. Whip It was amazing. Like, I need you directing again.
God damn
like,
it.
I need you in another rom-com. Where's Hugh Grant? Let's call him up. Like, come on.
Hubert. He came on the show. We talked so dirty, like 80% of
you have
the
to cut
interview had to be cut out for
my God.
daytime.
Cameron D and Lucy Liu, we need that happening.
You know,
That's gonna
there
happen.
are things, you know, I think basically when I had kids, something really shifted for me. And like, I couldn't go and be other people. I needed to be my kid's mom.
Sure.
And something in me by no means died. It went into Sleeping Beauty mode.
Yeah.
So is that kiss going to happen and like wake me up? I think it's very, very possible because there's an essay that I wrote. I'm actually going to publish it on the blog. My daughter's cousin Ivy, she's, basically my niece. She wanted to get into this school so badly, and she couldn't like eat, sleep, function, concentrate. And I was just like, Ivy, what are you going to do if this doesn't happen? And I'm almost concerned for your well-being because it's like your whole life is depending on this one decision, this one road. And she admittedly said, yes, it is. And I said, well, then you better get a plan B that rivals plan A. And if plan A ends up happening, you're going to be kind of bummed and mourn the death of plan B because it's so goddamn good that plan A happening is going to be sad to let the new idea, the new plan B go.
Right.
And for me, it was like my whole life has been this plan A. It's always been movies and storytelling. And when I had my kids, I didn't know what road I was supposed to be on. My compass would only point in the direction of my kids. Then years and years later, this show presented itself, and I thought, oh, this is perfect. I can take my life's work and experience. I don't have to play a character. I can be myself. I can be my kid's mom. I can live in my own reality as their parent. I want to figure out how to live a life, and a lot of this show is going to be about that. We've been here for 3 years. I got way so attached to this show that it started to define me, like as if I became Ivy. Like I couldn't imagine not doing it. And so I went and got some plan Bs.
Oh, okay.
And they're so goddamn rivaling plan A.
Okay, wait. Okay, but is
that
one
I did
of those,
exactly for myself what I told Ivy to go do.
Is one of those plan Bs, though, it's got to be a Lucy Liu, Cameron D reunion. Like, because Cameron's back to acting. But would you prefer a Charlie's Angels 3, or would you prefer, like, let's do something else? Like, I also have this fantasy of the three of you doing, like, a First Wives Club-esque kind of, like, I mean, that's my favorite movie of all time. But, like,
It's
something
so fun.
comedic where you can all be hilarious. But I'd love to see a Charlie's Angels 3. Like, which one is it?
I know. Charlie's is so
Which is
fun because you
happening.
get to do comedy, you get to do everything. I think, when you think of and just like that's when you look at a Cobra Kai, when you
The
see
legacy sequels.
how people reinvent the wheel of legendary legacy franchises, I think we all know when it works and when it doesn't.
Right.
And some are half and half. Some people like it, some people don't. But I think overall we kind of go, that is amazing.
Yeah, Top Gun. I feel like a lot of people saw it and were like, that's a perfect way to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in any manner of what plan B might or might not be, pun intended, it has to be that good.
Yeah.
And I think, I feel a lot of responsibility as a storyteller, as a producer, as a filmmaker to just not fuck things up.
Yeah.
And I think when it's good. When it's not. And the only way it's going to be good is if you stop at nothing and you're really in touch with something and you're not doing it for doing its sake. You are on a mission and you will not fail it. Like, ironically, get your plan A and plan B, but plan C is failure is not an option.
So
if and when I ever approach anything with the Camerons and the Lucys and the Adams and the blah bitty blahs, like I will do my best not to fuck it up.
Yeah.
Because I think these are things that I've been lucky enough to build with other people, but I've tried to be a force for good behind them. And I think integrity matters when you're making things for other people. Because at the end of the day, you can't be self-indulgent. You can't just do it to do it. You have to do it to make it that good for people who are willing to come and spend their time to experience it.
Yeah. Well, the world would go fucking nuts if you did a Charlie's Angels 3. And we would go nuts. My generation would lose it.
I would be interested into what it would evolve into.
Okay, I have so many questions for you. All of the Other Reindeers, this like weird Christmas
Oh my
special.
God! I love that you brought
It's
up all
this
of the other
weird
reindeer.
Christmas special that you did, and I've never heard you really talk about it. It came out, I think, like 99-ish, and I remember seeing it when it aired on Fox. I loved it. It's like sort of, was it Simpsons producers?
It's Matt Groening who
Which you
created The
just
Simpsons.
did The Simpsons full Simpsons
Oh,
full circle.
that was the most meaningful moment
Amazing.
of my life.
And it was mentioned in your book, The Simpsons. I just reread this on a plane.
Yeah.
But
You're such a good researcher. By the way,
Look,
that
I
is
bookmarked
integrity.
look, I bookmarked it.
When
Can I
people
tell you I was like crying on a
Show
plane?
up and like they're prepared. Nothing is more attractive and more of a life compliment. I try so hard to work so hard, and I just recognize it in other people, and it humbles me to the core. Thank you for taking the
Oh, it's
time,
like, this
Danny.
is the Simpsons chapter I marked. But there was a quote from your dad where he said something when you were at Joshua Tree. I gotta try to find it. Where he said, "Okay, wait, I just found it."
I can't believe you read the book. Thank you.
Do you get sad on a plane?
Oh my God! Every movie I watch on a plane is like 10 times
Right,
more emotional than it really is in reality.
Right.
On the ground.
So I came from Ohio. My family's all in Ohio, and
And a book, anything at 35,000 feet,
Anything
it
is
is
fucking
way
sad.
more intense.
Jamie Lee Curtis Activia commercial. I'm like losing it.
Yep, 100%.
But so I was reading this book, and I had just come from my family, and this one line you said, and you've talked about your relationship with your dad and with your parents, but you had at the end of his life this time in Joshua Tree, and he looked up in your face and deep into your eyes, and he said, "You were made perfect." And it's so heavy and beautiful, and it just hit me in a way that I was just bawling, like uncontrollable guttural sadness. And I think it was so great to talk about it, but I just wonder now that you've been parenting for so long, like how do you look back on your parents now as a mother? Does that make sense? Did I ask a question there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think about my parents all the time as a parent. I don't know why my dad got such a pass, that crazy fucker. I don't know why he did, but he just did. I think his behavior was so crazy when I was young. I mean, he would break into our house and like trash the place. Like it looked like they were trying to find the disc. It would look like a bad movie, cliche, like, nope, they were here looking for it. Like, that's what he would do to my mom and I's little duplex. And he would, like, hold my hand in fire and tell me, like, I have to overcome the pain. And, my flesh is burning. And I'm just thinking, like, this guy is 100% batshit. And he would, I remember he would come into restaurants and he would come in with his finger held high, like the pointer finger, and he always go, "Hey!" And he scared the shit out of me as a kid, but I was also utterly fascinated because he was this Gollum-like Tolkien figure who would like come in and out every few years. This was my only impression of this man. He didn't wear shoes. He didn't have a phone number. He didn't live anywhere. And he looked very much like he did not have a home. His clothes were dirty. My friends used to see people on the street and be like, "Huh, there's your dad." And I would laugh along with them, but, I'd just be like, it didn't hurt deep down inside. I was like, yeah, that is what my dad looks like. It's crazy, but he does. And I think of him very fondly. I don't know why I have zero baggage with this guy, but I just don't. Mom,
that's so interesting.
Huge.
I find that women, though, with their moms have a different relationship than men with their moms do.
Well, and a lot of moms, my goodness, do they have the capacity to set those boys up on a not so great path by,
propping them up too much.
There's some really crazy stuff I've seen from men, and it just keeps tracing back to the mother.
Yeah.
And you're like girls with mom issues is a lot, and boys with mom issues is a lot.
Right.
I don't know if the dad maybe gets a pass because you're not in that womb, but then there are so many people who are adopted or born surrogacy, or find that parent later on in life, so I'm not sure what the connection is, but that mother, that archetypal figure can have, it seems like more lasting effects in the burden department, but I don't know because I don't have a dad.
Yeah.
So if my dad was there to do more damage, I could probably say, oh, you're so ignorant for saying that. If anybody is listening to this who has had a very long journey with their father, I just don't really know what that journey is. The guy gets a pass. He was incapable. I accepted it as a young kid. And it just was very matter of fact to me.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, this person can't take care of themselves, let alone you.
Yeah. But do you feel like maybe because, and I forgive me, I don't mean to speculate, but maybe because your mom, you saw a shift, whereas your dad, it was always one way. Does that make sense?
Well, things got better with him.
Yeah.
Also.
Okay.
Like, when I got older, I was physically much more of a match to him. So I wasn't, and he wasn't very tall, and he was very frail. So at a certain point, when you realize you can kick that person's ass if they go after you, it changes the fear. Right. It just does. I was like, oh, try it, sister.
Yeah.
You know, you can't mess with me.
My dad's got like an Italian temper, and as my brothers and I got older, we realized like, oh, it's just when we were young, we were scared of it, and then as we got older, we're like, oh, it's laughable now.
That's it.
I love them, but it's laughable.
You know, children are smaller.
Yeah.
You know, you can think about it like when you're building something. You know, you have to build it shorter because that's the child's eye line. And if you're a larger looming figure, it's going to be intimidating. And so when I was his height and I could kick his ass, I was like, you're fine. We're good. And he also just was older and he had less, you know, toxicity in him. And it did become more comical and I did have more empathy for him. And I was glad that I got the chance to like say goodbye to him because that's not something a lot of people have with absentee parents. There's just a hole that's permanent and you spend the rest of your life trying to fill it up. Wow. I actually got to make peace with him. Yeah. It was a real luxury.
Yeah.
You know, that's where I focused. Not that he wasn't there. It was that I actually got the blessing of like saying goodbye to him over the course of 2 years as I took care of him.
Yeah, that's her name. I know I got to wrap this up, so I want to go like quick lightning-ish round, but you know, what is. Okay, the Scream reboot that just happened, you were the principal's voice, right? Is that a wives' tale, or is that
No,
true?
I am.
Okay.
You're right.
How did that happen? Because I haven't heard you talk about this.
You're right. No one has
noticed.
noticed.
The director gave an interview saying that you had been the voice of like it was over a loudspeaker in the new Scream 2022.
Yeah. What? See, this is why you are so fastidious and amazing. Yeah. They just asked me, and I was like, yeah. I will always play with that franchise. I knew reading that script, which was Scary Movie at the time, written by Kevin Williamson, and I shopped it around with none other than Harvey Weinstein. And I was not an ingenue. He did not mess with me. I did not
He just seemed like a big asshole.
Any experience. Yeah. I didn't have a negative experience with him. I was a producer, and I wanted to make movies, and that was also a side of him as well. I did not know any of the things that we now know. This was a long time ago. I mean, this was, you know.
Not to do a hard left, but everyone always talks about your bob in that, which is, of course, inspired by Scarface. But I'm so
Michelle
invested.
Pfeiffer and Scarface.
I'm so invested in also the top because it's very Nancy Meyers, and I wonder if it was like a conscious decision to be like, oh, let's do a cozy, like off-white sweater because it contrasts so much with like the bloody.
I was gonna say, you know, they always go light because it shows the blood best. That movie, I knew it would be an iconic juggernaut. So I knew it. I just knew it. And
but your opening is like the most iconic thing.
Well, I thought it was, you know, one of the best parts about the movie. Yeah. And I think that Janet Leigh in Psycho and When a Stranger Calls were two of my favorite cultural moments in a scary film genre. So I was set to play a different role, And I had a sort of epiphany one night, and I called Carrie, the producer, and Harvey, and everybody. And I said, I've had an epiphany. This is what it has to be. The problem with scary movies is that you always know the main character is going to survive by the skin of her teeth. If we flip the script on that and we take that comfort away from people, you're going to have a very different movie on your hands.
Yeah.
And they let me do it, which was even crazier, because
So
normally they're like, nope, you were booked for the other character.
it's so good. Sorry to keep moving on, but
No, do it. Go.
Batman Forever. Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones, they had like a lot of shit on set, right? And you worked with both of them, and those costumes are insane. Like, tell me just something.
There was a lot of time in hair and makeup.
Okay.
And V, the famous makeup artist, V Neal, she was doing the makeup, and like my makeup in that, which doesn't look, that crazy exotic, took an hour and a half. Just the makeup alone, with like lashes and lines and diamonds and things. Debbie Mazar's took a long time, but Tommy and Jim, hours, and it was uncomfortable, and but I think they were both, I think Jim Carrey was going for like a very, again, comedians, they've got edge, they've got grit, they've got backbone. It goes back to what I said. Adam is very kind, and Jim was really great to me. I loved him.
Yeah.
I had such a crush on him.
I did too. By
Everybody.
the way. Yeah.
Again, it's like Jim Carrey, Adam Sandler, these are the guys,
Yeah.
we are all in love with. Like, get in line. I got in line. And nothing happened.
Did you ever date him? No, you didn't.
Jim?
Yeah. Wait, did I get an exclusive?
No.
Oh my god. One date? Did you go on you went on a date?
No, I just had a big crush on him.
Ugh.
Makes me blush.
I think it's like a wives' tale that he's also well endowed. I think it's like a thing. Anyway,
I don't
You'll
know.
tell me about that later. No.
But on that film, I really didn't get to engage with him very much, because he and Tommy were so in their characters that like my crush was very like on the sidelines. You couldn't really engage with them, not because they weren't being nice or not because they were jerks, but because they were so in character.
Right.
So it was like intense.
Yeah.
You were like, oh, it's the Riddler, but no, it's like a really important performance to him. And he had like this whole Bowie thing going on. It was hot.
The Britney wedding photo, obviously, that broke the internet. I want to know, you don't watch Housewives, and I know we talk a lot about Housewives on Everything Iconic, but what was Kathy Hilton like at the wedding? You were babysitting Paris and Nikki, right?
They, I think, babysat me at Kathy's house.
Okay. So
My mom would like pull in their driveway. I'd hop out of the car and she'd zip out, and a couple days later she'd come and pick me up. So Paris, Nikki, and Kathy were like a safe space for me to go, and their house was so different than mine. My mom and I lived in like this small duplex in a not so great neighborhood, and they're Hiltons, and their house was cozy and had picture frames and banisters, and I loved it over there.
I love that. You need to watch Kathy on Housewives. Did you know Kyle and Kim at all?
Oh yeah, absolutely, because we all were kids like working in the industry. I mean, like Escape to Witch Mountain and Watch from the Woods were like, I loved their movies as a kid, and we were all sort of in the scene together. What was Kathy's thing? There's like a whole thing.
There's this whole thing with Lisa Rinna. Do you know Lisa Rinna at all?
Yeah, I know. Well, I know of her.
There's all these accusations that Kathy had this meltdown on this cast trip in Aspen, and she was like losing it and stomping on her glasses, and it was like a whole big nightmare.
First of all, isn't that the price of admission when you sign up? What about Jenna Lyons?
I'm shocked about it. I'm shocked about it.
I thought the sign that she came out with her boobs showing meant like, I am fucking here to play. Like, I don't really watch Housewives, but everyone I know does, and I love all the
I'm
like.
gonna get you into it if it's the last thing I do.
Well, I just don't really watch a lot of reality TV, but I get uncomfortable with people fighting.
Yeah.
It actually like I don't want that energy. It upsets me too much. But isn't that the whole point of the Housewives? Is like the crazier you get or shit goes down, the more fun it is. Again, right back full circle to what I was saying is you're not making this for yourself. You're making it for people, hopefully, to not
enjoy
waste their time while they're experiencing it. Isn't this the point of the Housewives, or have I completely missed
We'll
the
talk
point?
about it more on your show because I think we're going to get into Housewives
All
a
right,
little
yeah,
bit on
we
your
are.
show. But
But Jenna Lyons Tatas being out made me think, this woman knows her fucking audience. This is going to be
it's
so
gonna be good.
hot.
Favorite rom-com of all time?
Like in the world,
Yeah,
in
like
life.
what will you watch all the time? Mine's You've Got Mail. All-time number one.
Mine's When Harry Met Sally.
I mean, don't we need Meg Ryan back? Can you
Yes!
Can you get Meg on your show? And if you do, like, I will be there just giving people coffee.
Oh my
like,
God,
please. I worship the woman.
I will die. I wonder if she ever would.
I hope she does more. I mean, we need her too. Okay, favorite Mariah Carey song? I ask all of my guests that.
Honey.
Sexiest Man Alive, if you were choosing People Magazine Sexiest Man Alive.
I'll go with Jim Carrey.
Good one. Now, finally, I just want to play this clip. You were on Barbara Walters' special, 1997.
I just
8-ish?
rewatched it recently.
Wait, did you see the clip of you talking about, she asked you, where would you want to be in 10 years or something?
Yeah, which I have no board vision. I've never had any board vision. So I was so curious as to what my answer would be.
Did you listen to it? Can I play it?
I can't remember. I blacked it
Okay, let's
out.
just play it. It's
Ordinarily, I'd say 10 years. But where are you going to be 5 years
Yes,
from
in
now?
the rain.
What's the dream?
Same one I've had since I was little. To be on a farm, to be with lots of animals, to be with someone I love. And one night it'll rain and I'll know that I finally got there.
One night it will rain. What's that got to do with it?
I love the rain.
And you, of course, went viral earlier this year for this TikTok of you in the rain, and I just thought it was how amazing. Like you had talked about it, it was 97-ish or something like that. I had the chills.
You know what's nice about that is that it just proves to myself, like, that is who I am. You know, the rain is free. It doesn't provide itself for certain people and not others. It's just this sort of gift from nature. I used to say it was God watering his flowers. I love that I thought he was a he. I love that I thought there is a God. I actually really believe in everything. Whatever your beliefs are, I believe. I want us all to be kind to each other in that way. I see the universe basically like on the back of your phone. I believe in the universe, but I just love that rain is this thing that is so spiritual and so in nature, and it just doesn't choose anyone or anything. It's just there for everyone. There's something about those things that really speak to me. Can it be for everyone? And the rain is. It also feels good. It's just so... We overthink everything. Oh, God, am I going to get wet? Am I going to be able to dry off? Is this going to ruin my thing? And, you know, you'll talk yourself out of anything.
What's so fascinating to me, though, is people think of you, and you are this huge A-list movie star. And
I don't ever feel that
when
way,
it comes
but
down
thank
to
you.
it, from then to now, what you're saying is the rain's the most important. It's beautiful.
I love that I'm somewhat consistent.
Yeah.
And I really do. Like, it's just this small thing, but it's so big to me. And I'm still that same person.
I love you so much. They're wrapping me.
I
We gotta
love you,
go.
Danny.
I love you.
I'm so
I'm
in
gonna be
awe
on your
of your homework. I'm really... You're like the only person who's noticed many of these things. Thank you.
Well, you're the
Made my
best. I
life
love
make
you.
sense to me.
I love you, love you, love you, love you, love you.
I love you too.